Whoa, before you hit the dislike button, you hit it, didn't you? No! What I mean to say is that, what's this? Jamie Palacios Martinez wants me to do a shout out. If you think I've got time for something like that, then you'd be right. This one goes out to Chris Fortner. Thank you for the support, genuinely. I'm not talking about when Jamie Dimon said that Bitcoin is a fraud, because he's wrong about that. He knows it. I know it. You know it. What he is potentially right about is when he divides Bitcoin, the technology, to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, or a currency. Can you really divide the line like that? No, not really. But he's attempting to, so let's explore that.
Countries form their currency. They like to control their currency. So right now, I say these crypto things are kind of a novelty. People think they're kind of neat. But the bigger they get, the more government's going to close them down. And they're also used a lot for illicit purposes.
This whole illicit purposes argument is super weak, and I think he knows that. The number one currency used for illicit purposes is most likely the dollar. Does that mean we should ban dollars? According to his logic, yes. Look, I get it. He's a popular guy to hate, right? I made that video where I physically attacked him. And then not 2 days later on my latest video did someone comment, "Can you do some more bashing of Jamie Dimon?" And I was like, "Did you watch that video where I attacked him?" And he said yes, but he'd like to see some more. Slightly vindictive, but I get it. I really do. He messed with the dollar valuation of our Bitcoins in a big way. This is my opinion, but there are a few rules to trading. Never sell your whole position. Buy the rumor, sell the news. One I want to focus on today is to not be emotional. Let's take a look at what he could potentially be right about.
Okay.
And it'll end when people lose a lot of money, the government's going to come down, when people think they use it as an investment, or it becomes too big, where governments say, we want to control it now. And I've had many people say, well, how can you control Bitcoin? It's very simple. If I said to everyone in this room, if you buy or sell a Bitcoin, if you A, bet to buy and sell a Bitcoin, if you or bet anything where I'm going to put you in jail, it's over. And so watch what's going to happen in China. It doesn't mean people won't do it. It just means it'll be a black market, which is a whole different thing.
So what's he talking about here? He's talking about cutting the lifeline between fiat and Bitcoin, which is something that's possible, technically. Kind of a gray area, but say our government, wherever you are, I'm in England, say my government says Bitcoin exchanges are illegal. You're no longer allowed to buy or sell cryptocurrencies. We're shutting down the exchanges. This means Coinbase, for example, would no longer be accessible to me. I use Coinbase. I know it's not the cheapest, but I like it. What would immediately start to happen is people would panic sell their Bitcoin because they're no longer going to have access to sell it in the future, they're feeling. And so it's going to tank in a major way, potentially. And after that, what Jamie is saying is it'll go completely underground. It'll be used for drug trafficking and ransoms. Kind of like the dollar.
You're wasting your time.
So you think they
when the DOJ calls someone up and says that's an illegal currency and it's against the laws of the United States of land, if you do it again, we'll put you in jail, it's over.
So you really
there's no issue. There will be, and this is my personal opinion, there will be no real non-controlled currency in the world. There's no government that's going to put up with it for long. It's kind of cute now. A lot of the senators in Congress will say, I support Silicon Valley innovation. There will be no currency that gets around government controls.
Anybody here want to take an opposite view?
The fact that this is a potential should be addressed. It is a potential, absolutely. If Bitcoin is going to remove the power of governments and centralized banking, like we hear a lot of the big pro-Bitcoiners talk about, then why wouldn't they? I mean, essentially, they've got a few options. One, they can attempt to ignore it, which if it works, they're not going to be able to do forever. Two, they could enact legislation and attempt to tax it. Or three, outright ban it. I'm not trying to say I know which option they're going to go with, but I don't feel like they would ban it. I don't feel that they would continue to ignore it if it continues growing. I think what's most likely is they will attempt to tax it. For example, Japan recently legalized Bitcoin as a legal tender. Australia recently ended the double taxation for Bitcoin. Russia is still kind of making up their minds. Let's not forget Bitcoin already has some legislation enacted in the States. In New York State, for example, there is what's known as the Bit License, which is sort of legislation for Bitcoin, although it's widely criticized as being over-encumbering and stifling growth out of cryptocurrency businesses. But legislation, nonetheless, there are many third world countries that stand to gain a lot. Third world up, all the way to superpower countries. There are more businesses and jobs that are created through Bitcoin every single day, and it keeps growing. So essentially, you might have the scenario where, okay, so Russia's fed up of the dollar being the world reserve currency. It wants its rubles to be. How is it going to become that powerful? How can it get a leg up over America? Potentially cryptocurrencies? They are growing rapidly. I know we're not talking about it right now. We're still too early for that, but potentially in the future, could that happen with enacting some legislation, with legalizing it? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
The technology will be used. It may even be used to transport currency, but it will be US dollars.
I think Jamie would absolutely love that if that's a scenario. It keeps him in business. But let's assume, for just a moment, let's explore. The government bans cryptocurrency exchanges. What happens after that? The immediate US dollar valuation of Bitcoin is in big trouble. People would rush to their precious Coinbase, GDAX, Bitfinex, whatever it is that ties you to fiat, because they don't have another way. Essentially, Bitcoin is not big enough now to stand on its own two legs. It needs to be tied to a dollar valuation. Like, think about it. If you're attempting to buy something online with Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin they charge you is the USD equivalent. We're still not ready for a society that can price things correctly in millibits and know they're getting a good deal for it without the dollar valuation. I mean, of course, there will be some examples where that's not the case, but the majority, it's too early to sever its ties with the dollar. And a lot of big Bitcoiners know that. This is why you have, I don't know if it's head in the cloud type of talk, but Roger Ver talking about a freedom island where it's all built using Bitcoin and whatnot. I don't understand it. I haven't really looked into it, but essentially a state where they can use Bitcoin, because then they could get away from fiat and Roger Ver could be a trillionaire. So if the governments around the world decide to ban Bitcoin, immediately everything's going into tank. I personally would also sell everything very quickly, wait until just about the day before the exchange is about to close and buy back in again. And then I would wait. I'd keep my private keys and then I would wait. Wait for what? Decentralized exchanges. We already have a few, but I'm talking ones that also offer fiat for crypto and that get popularized by the fact that there'll be a huge demand for it. They are in the works, and these ones won't be taken down anywhere near as easily. You'd still have the problem of attempting to account for where your money came from once it hits your bank accounts. If the government says it's illegal, then you can't exactly say to the tax man, oh, this was from a sale of Bitcoin. So there'd be some type of laundry rampant, no doubt, which would kind of suck, but still, this would prevent a lot of businesses from using Bitcoin as a payment method. And we need businesses. Otherwise, you know, if you're going to buy Bitcoin and you're going to sell it one day and that's the only thing it's used for, then it is a giant Ponzi scheme. If that's all it is, it's a Ponzi scheme. But that's not all it is. It's attempting to replace currency, a better system of money. I want to see that. But how are we going to achieve mass adoption when businesses can't legally run and use Bitcoin? There are a few potential ways. Currently, we can still pay using cryptocurrencies at point-of-sale terminals. You know, your Centra cards, your 10x cards, that type of deal. That exists right now. But yeah, pure businesses that accept Bitcoin, unfortunately, might not be possible if the government has banned it. Please remember, I do not think this is likely, but I did want to explore the possibility with you guys to kind of have a look at it. I think the government is more likely to attempt to profit off of Bitcoin than outright ban it. We will need to see. China's going one way, but I feel that potentially other countries are going to go the other. While we can say, yeah, governments are corrupt, these are people that we elected. And I can't say that all of these people don't want to make the world better or want to make the nations they represent better. I have to have faith that some of them do, and that's the reason they got into politics. Taxing Bitcoin thinks is a more likely scenario. The declining value of fiat is not an alternative. You've got two choices. You've got the kind of risky, potentially cryptocurrency investment, or you can hold your fiat. One, you can win or you can lose, and the other one you're guaranteed to lose. What would you prefer? Rich people don't keep all of their money in a bank account. You best believe they don't. Why don't you see affordable housing in London? One of the main reasons is that rich people around the world will buy up property in the center of a big city because it's better than holding money. Even though it's crazy expensive and they might not even let it out to anyone, it still offers better return than a savings account. Bitcoin is perfect mathematics. Dollar coin is 20 trillion in debt. So in summation, yes, potentially Jamie is right about some of his statements. However, one of the major values of Bitcoin is censorship resistance. Can it live after it essentially suffers the worst fate possible by all of the nations in the world, which technically can't happen? There are too many people to earn too much from legalizing Bitcoin in their country. But assuming the whole world bans it, Bitcoin will still be around. They can't shut it down. Think about that for a second. That's pretty amazing. Am I a Bitcoin maximalist? No. Am I aware that Bitcoin needs to succeed for cryptocurrencies in general to succeed? Yes. Okay, rant over. Let me know what you guys think. There's some really great conversations happening in the comments. I do read them. Moving on, SegWit now accounts for 5% of all transactions. The red is non-SegWit. The blue down here is SegWit. You might think 5%? That doesn't seem like a lot. You should know with the core client that most nodes run or businesses run, the software, isn't very easy to adopt SegWit. This is actually intentional. The Bitcoin core developers are very conservative and not without good reason for upgrades such as this. The next core client update 0.15.1 aims to make it easier for people to move on to SegWit. So we could see 10% of all transactions being SegWit-enabled ones fairly shortly. And on to Paragon ICO. What an amazing opportunity this is to potentially lose a lot of money. Here are 3 reasons to stay away from Paragon coin. I will leave this linked down below. This website essentially reviews ICOs, and I quite like their thinking. So the concept gets a big no. Resolving simple issues surrounding the marijuana industry with blockchain technology. The team appears to be real, although the CEO appears to be paid off as a figurehead with a clean record. I kind of disagree with this. For if I do my own research and type in Paragon ICO, and yes, again, a website which kills my CPU, look at this. 75% usage just by loading this stupid ICO page with these lines. I don't get it. Is it really mining Monero? Are all ICOs mining Monero on your browser? That'd be crazy. So their page, it says our team. There's a few people. There's also a dog. The advisory board says Jason Terrell Taylor, aka The Game. Okay, I used to listen to this guy quite a lot, his music. He's a rapper when I was younger. Believe me, seeing him as an advisor does not fill me with any sense of confidence whatsoever. They're paying a ton of money for marketing, essentially. Lastly, execution. Company has nothing to show for besides excessive marketing, looking to raise an absurd amount of money for a niche concept. And on this post, it shows that there's some Reddit manipulation going on and that they have proof. I'm not saying to stay away from this ICO. Invest if you want, but I can tell you, I certainly won't be. This is a public service announcement. I think this is really important. If you are not doing this, you are driving a car without a seatbelt. I am, of course, talking to 2FA on your accounts. Any exchange that you go on to, enable 2FA. I will leave this link below. It'll show you how to set it up. If you think hacking can never happen to you, believe me, you're in one of the most hacking. The next step would be to keep no meaningful amount of money, if possible, on an exchange, as well as that is calling your cell phone provider and saying, my account is a risk one. I want you to put a passphrase whenever I call that you have to confirm with me, because I think other people might call. Most companies will allow you to do this. Lastly, keep as much as you can on a hardware wallet, because that's just the safest way. Moving on to a video about the top 10 cryptocurrency YouTubers. Not to brag or anything, but that's awesome. Link to this guy's channel down below if you want to check it out. Onto the market, we are seeing some growth. Bitcoin 3,900, NEO has had a 23% growth in the last 24 hours. Why? Still a very interesting project. It's not like it's going away. There could be some speculation about the first Korean exchange that will open using NEO. And as we've seen in the past, the Koreans have been behind some major pumps for pretty much all of the top 10 currencies. In recent times, we've seen a Korean pump for Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Dash, IOTA, Monero. NEO seems like a likely target. This is before the Chinese government news, so whether or not it would be a massive pump like we've seen before, if any at all, is anyone's guess. A lot of what we see on the biggest growers is simply because these are good projects that are recovering because there was no good reason for them to fall in the first place. That, coupled with a rising dollar valuation for Bitcoin, will automatically have these coins come up. Again, Dentacoin is down, Vertcoin down, Rise. But not a lot of coins falling, at least in the top 100. If you want to be really crazy, go and have a look at all the coins. You'll find coins that in the last 7 days have lost 97.85% of its value. Likely because it's almost worth very, very little, and someone bought high and someone sells low, and all of a sudden it's 100%. A lot of strange goings on when you have a look at all the coins. This is pump and dump territory down here. In the news, Japanese authorities are increasing surveillance on the exchanges. This is stated to be because they want to ensure that companies comply with the revised payment services law passed in April earlier this year. I think Japan is going to be a very growing country in cryptocurrency. We can already see they're starting to invest heavily into mining. Japan could be the new China in terms of mining and Bitcoin. We'll have to wait and see. Oh yeah, I didn't upload yesterday, and I might not continue to do so on Sundays. I know I'll have to change kind of the name a little bit. I might put it on the wallpaper art and say Crypto Daily sometimes. If anyone's good at Photoshop, drop me an email. I'll send you over the high-res form if you want to do something to it. That'd be pretty cool. The reason I kind of need to do this is because to maintain motivation, I kind of need a day off, but not just that. In order to keep the content strong and not watered down, I need to learn. I need to spend time researching. I need to get more and more information. I need to keep progressing. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.